Hey, what's up? It is Dan or DMad96 here, and welcome to round 5 of our F1 2016 career mode with Haas F1. And here we are for the first European round of the season for the Spanish Grand Prix. Last time out in Russia, we managed to secure our best result of the season with a fantastic 6th place. Even led a couple of laps, but it was a good drive anyway to secure that 6th position. But we arrive at the Circuit de Catalunya, a track which I have had good experience with in the past F1 games. This one, I don't know. This is the first time I'm driving around this track, so it's going to be a very interesting one for me. But here we are out on track for the first practice program, the track acclimatization test. And just like in Sochi, it is raining. So it's obviously going to be a lot harder. We've got to hope that it is going to be dry for the qualifying session. But we get off to a decent start in the wet conditions. Now coming down into the final corner for the end of the first lap. And you can see our lap didn't go well at all. We got 4 reds and we really struggled to keep the car on the track. Wet weather is a lot harder this year compared to F1 2015. But we do finish our first lap and we are miles off our target score, 250 compared to 305, which is what we were supposed to get. But we got off to a much better lap this time for the second time round, and we easily beat our first target score, 395 points we got. And now for the final time, we have the purple score to beat, and it looks like we are going to beat that going into the final corner here at the Circuit de Catalunya to finish off our track acclimatization test. And there we go, 435 points, and that is our purple objective completed here for the first practice test. And now we move on to the next objective, that is the qualifying pace objective. And here we are just starting our first lap time. Currently we are 8th in the practice session, so we're showing decent pace, however, in the wet weather conditions. But now we can round the final corner to complete our first lap, and you can see we are almost 2 seconds up on our target time, and we managed to achieve our purple objective straight away. And I believe we've got a top 10 finish at the end of practice 1. But there you can see resource points that we earned from the first session. We earned a decent 100 there, bringing our total up to 863. And we are going to invest those resource points on the next downforce upgrade. And this will come very much in handy for the Monaco Grand Prix, a track which very much relies on cornering speed. But with no rain forecast for qualifying, it's time to move on to the qualifying report. Ferrari set the early pace in Q1 with Kimi Raikkonen coming out on top ahead of the 2 Mercedes drivers. Both manners began to show improvement, and even though they were eliminated, the team was still pleased with 17th and 19th.
Yeah, great qualifying for me, especially if we consider the morning and yesterday how our pace was, but yeah, pretty happy with qualifying.
Mercedes took a 1-2 in Q2 from the 2 Ferraris and Red Bulls. Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso made Q3 at the expense of their teammates, as Haas rookie Dan Phillips was also eliminated, bringing his good quali run to an end in 13th. And Mercedes stayed on top in Q3, with Nico Rosberg taking his 2nd pole position of the season ahead of Sebastian Vettel.
Good day in the office for sure today, yeah, I'm pleased with that. And it's important here on this track, because it's very difficult to overtake. So, and even the race speed was good on Friday. So all in all, it's looking good for now.
Max Verstappen leads an all Red Bull Row 2, whilst you have to go way back down to 5th to find Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz qualified in a strong 7th place, but was issued a 5-place grid penalty for a gearbox change, demoting him back down to 12th. It's Nico Rosberg's 2nd consecutive pole here in Barcelona as he looks to close in on his teammates' championship lead, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside and the 2 Red Bulls locking out Row 2. Lewis Hamilton starts alongside Kimi Raikkonen after a disappointing session, with Fernando Alonso hoping to impress the Spanish fans in 7th. 9th place Romain Grosjean outqualifies Dan Phillips for the first time this season as the Englishman starts behind the 2 Toro Rossos. Rio Haryanto and Pascal Wehrlein complete Manor's best qualifying of the season with 17th and 19th, as Marcus Ericsson and Jolyon Palmer complete the grid for this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. So not a good qualifying session from us, only 13th. Hopefully we can try and push the car to try and get some points this weekend. I feel like this is going to be a difficult race for us. But hopefully we can try and get 9th or 10th, higher if we can. But our aim will just be trying to get to the back end of the points and to beat our rival Perez and our teammate Romain Grosjean. There you can see the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton continues to lead, with Nico Rosberg now getting ahead of Kimi Raikkonen after the previous round in Russia, where he won. And Mercedes continue their lead in the Constructors' Championship over Ferrari and Red Bull. And there is Nico Rosberg, and with his teammate down in 5th, there he is right now. Could this be a Nico Rosberg dominated weekend? We'll have to wait and see. But Rosberg is closing down his teammate Lewis Hamilton in the championship. It could be an exciting one in terms of the 2 Mercedes drivers. But now we move on to ourselves all the way down in 13th position alongside Carlos Sainz and behind Danny Kvyat as well as we get underway for the formation lap. And the aim will be to try and make as much positions as we can from the start and try and get into the points. And then our aim will be to just try and hold everyone else off behind and try and stay in that points. I feel like it's going to be a difficult race for us today as we now come to our grid position for the start of the first European round of the 2016 Formula 1 season. And here we are on the grid, and the 5 lights are about to illuminate here for the start of the Grand Prix here at the Circuit of Catalunya. It is lights out and away we go, and Nico Rosberg gets off to a very good start, and we got to a decent one as well. We straight away managed to get ahead of both the Toro Rossos, now behind our teammate Romain Grosjean, and you can see an excellent start from one of the Red Bull drivers is now alongside the Ferrari from second. Lewis Hamilton getting a good start as well, he's all the way up to third, but now we're alongside our teammate Romain Grosjean. We've managed to pass our teammates going down in towards turn 3. Now we're going to get ahead of Felipe Massa and Fernando Alonso, who's dropped back. We're having a legal overtake there for overtaking under yellow flags, so there must have been some contact behind. We had a little bit of contact with Massa almost going off into the wall, but we're straight up from 13th to 10th. Now moving on towards our battle with Fernando Alonso. Massa now up ahead battling with Valtteri Bottas, his teammates, but we are all over the back of Fernando Alonso. We have the greatest straight line speed. The Honda engine really not showing its potential, but Alonso did have a good qualifying session, qualifying in 7th position, but it seems like we are now ahead of Fernando. He will have the inside line, but we are going to try and be aggressive, and we take 9th position, moving up 4 positions from our start in 13th place. Now we go on to our battle with Valtteri Bottas, and a very good start to this Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Catalunya. And you can see Massa has slowly pulled away from his teammate, and we've managed to catch up to him now. The 2 Red Bulls, I think that is Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo. A shame, as I believe one of them had a very good start, was up to second at the end of lap 1. But now we go down the inside with in a similar pass and moves on Fernando Alonso, this time taking the inside line on Valtteri Bottas, and we now move up to 8th position, and we continue to charge on the opening few laps here for the Spanish Grand Prix. And now on next up is Felipe Massa and Max Verstappen, who have been going at it side by side for quite some time, and we lock at the brakes slightly, but we're going to keep the inside line and just get ahead of Felipe Massa going into the final corner. Now we move up into 7th position, and we'll have the DRS on Max Verstappen, and we are going to overtake 3 cars in 1 lap, both Williams drivers, and now the Red Bull and Max Verstappen, and we now move up into 6th position. Daniel Ricciardo is next up, but he seemed to have got away whilst we were battling with the cars behind us. But now we move on to lap 6. A few cars have come into the pit lane, Lewis Hamilton being one of them, as Nico Rosberg continues to lead out in front. And now we are going to take a lap in the lead as Nico Rosberg has just entered the pit lane. And now on lap 8 we are going to be pitting as our tyres, we have been struggling with them on the past few laps, and you can even see there on the left hand side that we do have a tyre puncture. But luckily it was in the pit lane, so it won't cost us any time at all. We are going to rejoin, I think, with that battle of the Williams drivers and the Red Bulls. So we're going to be pitting for the medium tyres. Our strategy is another 2-stop strategy this weekend, and there we are. You can see the Williams and Valtteri Bottas, as well as Massa, Alonso, Grosjean. I think there was one of the Red Bulls in there as well. It was Max Verstappen, who's rejoined in 20th position. So towards the end of the field, a sneaky corner cut there as we go into the chicane. You can see Valtteri Bottas now battling with Felipe Massa, who's been driving very, very slowly, and this is holding up a train. You can see in the background we're just about to try and pass our teammate Romain Grosjean. Massa and Bottas side by side, now back on the battle with the 2 Haas drivers. We will have the DRS, but so will the car ahead of us and behind us, so it's going to be very hectic going down towards turn 1. We're going to try and have a look at the inside of Grosjean. You can see Ricciardo and Massa battling as well. We're also going to have a little look at Daniel Ricciardo and Felipe Massa, and let's not forget about the other Felipe Nasr as well. We're going to get around the inside of him. We passed about 5 cars in the space of 3 corners. Fantastic scenes. We're now to 15th place, but let's not forget there's still pit stops to go. We're now behind Valtteri Bottas, and we had an early battle with him early on in the race. You can see now he's about to pass Jolyon Palmer, who I still believe hasn't pitted as of yet. But you can see Bottas losing a hell of a lot of time. We've now managed to catch to the back of both of them. and it'll be interesting here if we can get ahead of them. And they're still side by side, so the Renault and Williams driver really going at it here on lap 13 of the Spanish Grand Prix. And we had a little look going into the chicane, but we didn't want to try anything risky. But we do just get ahead of Jolyon Palmer. And there you can see that Valtteri Bottas has managed to get away slightly here as we start the 14th lap. Now we skip on to the 16th lap, and you can see Felipe Massa, we're now in a battle with him as a lot of other drivers go into the pit lane. You can see we're now moved up to 9th. Obviously we were 8th, now Massa was just overtaking us. But I'm pretty sure we can get past Massa quite quickly. Now we've got the DRS staying on lap 16, and surely we're going to make a move down the inside of a passing place where we seem to have made quite a few overtakes. Alonso and Bottas early in the race, and now we've got ahead of Felipe Massa back into 8th position. But we do have our pit stops coming around the corner, and we're now in 3rd position, of course, because everyone else is now going into the pits, and so are we. We are going to be making one more pit stop for the hard tyres. It's going to be a very risky strategy. You can see the medium tyres really going off. And it's going to be very interesting to see where we are going to rejoin and what position we will be battling for here as we go into the pitch. You can see everyone else going past us. Vettel, Raikkonen, Hulkenberg, I believe, was also in the pit lane. I'm not so sure. I think he actually was ahead of us. But anyway, we're on the hard tyres, and we're now going to rejoin what seems to be 12th. 13th, I think. There's a big battle behind us. I think we're just going to get out just ahead of that. Felipe Massa is involved in that as well, and we have just managed to beat Felipe Massa out of the pit lane. Valtteri Bottas staying ahead of us. We're in 12th position. Points could still be possible for this weekend. We now move on to the 21st lap of this Grand Prix, and Felipe Massa has managed to catch up to us. Jenson Button, I believe, has just entered the pit lane and has exited on fresh medium tyres. So this is going to be interesting. He's on the quicker tyre compound than both ourselves and Felipe. So I think Jenson's going to be very much a threat for points here towards the end of this race, as we now continue to battle with Felipe Massa. We've been overtaking each other non-stop, and Kevin Magnussen as well as the driver ahead that hasn't pitted, but now we're getting a bit worried because Jenson Button is very close to us behind now. Kevin Magnussen still hasn't pitted, so this is a 3-horse battle for the final points here, as it seems, hit the Spanish Grand Prix. We went wild a little bit trying to defend ourselves from Massa. We couldn't really make a move down to that corner, but now on to lap 24. Less than 10 laps to go now, and we try to have another look on Massa. Jenson Button is still behind us. At the same time, we are catching up to the back of a slowing Renault of Kevin Magnussen, and we're catching up to him now very quickly, and we've got to get past him as well. I still think he has to pit. You can see Massa having a go on Kevin Magnussen, and Jenson Button's having a little look as well. He's also got the DRS. He's not catching up to us as quickly as I thought. But now we're going to go at the inside of Magnussen, and he almost collects Jenson Button. As you saw, we had a bit of contact with a Renault driver, but now you can see we are catching back up to Massa. We're now in 11th place. This is for the final point here for Spanish Grand Prix. We will have the DRS on Massa. You can see now Button is also very, very close behind. We're going to go to the inside of the Williams driver, and there we go. We have now moved up into 10th position, but Button has also got past, and he's also on the quicker tyres. This is going to be a battle now between the McLaren and the Haas driver of ourselves. Of course, we move on to lap 27 of the Grand Prix, and Jenson Button will have DRS and the quicker tyres as well. He may not have the quickest straight line speed, but even on rich mix, we cannot stop the McLaren driver past us, and Massa's going to get past us as well. This is an absolute disaster, it seems. We try to defend round the outside line. We somehow stay ahead of Jenson Button, and we keep that 10th position, but for how long will it be as Button's going to make another move? And Jenson Button now, I think, is going to secure that 10th place. We don't try to defend. He was just too quick for us, really, and we now drop down to 11th place. And now, onto lap 29, I think all hope of points is out of the question here. Massa has got ahead of us, and we have been struggling now for the past few laps, and Felipe Massa has now passed us. And it's an absolute shame, really. We were looking good for a decent result. I don't think it's going to be. And what a shame it is. We didn't have pace all weekend in qualifying, and it's really showing in the race in the closing stages. Max Verstappen now catching us up, and a little bit of contact with Max Verstappen, and it's all gone downhill since that final pit stop. And it looks like now we are going to finish in 13th place, but we now move on to the penultimate lap, and we've been struggling a lot here. The tyres are slowly getting worse and worse, and Romain Grosjean, the last person that we want to beat us, I don't know where Sergio Perez is, but he is obviously our main rival, and our teammate has unfortunately gone past us. And you can just see that Romain Grosjean has a lot better pace than we do here. We are just struggling in the closing stages, and I think we just want this race to finish right now. And even with the DRS, you can see that we are just not really going to make any significant gain on our teammates. It's all gone to shit, this race has, unfortunately. And it looks like Romain Grosjean is going to beat us for the third time on the track, but for the first time in both qualifying and the race. But now we swiftly move on to Nico Rosberg, who we haven't seen much of this race, as he laps Jolyon Palmer and crosses the finish line to take a dominant victory here in Spain. And unfortunately for us, it's going to be a disappointing 14th place. It could have been a lot better. We had 10th. It looked like it could have been 10th place, but we angrily smashed our car into the wall, and I was completely frustrated with that result. We didn't have a pace all weekend, and it showed in qualifying outside the top 10. And it showed even more in the race as well. And there you go, really just shows that you can't really have everything. We had a good first 4 rounds, points in all of them, and I think this just seems to be a little reality check here. We finished way down in 14th. Our teammate didn't have a good race as well, but there you can see Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel celebrating on the podium. It's not been the best of weekends, but I'm confident that we're still ahead of Sergio Perez in the Drivers' Championship. So the one bad result I have, and Sergio Perez manages to overtake me in the championship. No, I tell you what, I just cannot be arsed anymore. I just cannot be arsed. So now that I've calmed down, let's actually take a look at the full race results. And Nico Rosberg crucially wins the Spanish Grand Prix, and this actually is very interesting for the championship. Whilst Kvyat and Perez actually really impressing to take 5th and 6th. And irritatingly, not only we're now behind our teammate in the championship, we're also behind Sergio Perez, our rival, as well. But Nico Rosberg now closes the gap to a point behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton, making it very interesting at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton continues to lead. And in the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes extend their lead ahead of Ferrari and Red Bull in the championship. We stay in 5th position. In fact, no one else has changed position from the previous round. Sauber, Manor and Renault still yet to score, but there you can see the resource points and our driver expectations. It wasn't a brilliant race for us. We still got 200 resource points. We are, however, still getting closer to beating Sergio Perez in this rivalry, and we have gone down a little bit in our driver expectations. But after this terrible weekend, we hope to rebuild it in Monte Carlo. It should be a good race for us. Hope you guys have enjoyed today. If you have, please leave a like, comment down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Until next time, guys, this has been DMAT96. I'll catch you guys later.